For a fantasy fan, particularly a fantasy writer, Eragon is the equivalent of Barney the dinosaur.
The time of dragons, dragon riders, will come again.
Okay, so I don't know how this is going to go, but if the D&D Fourth Wing episode was any indication, this group has a lot of really complicated opinions about dragons. And for some reason, this had me thinking about Eragon. I haven't seen this movie since I was 8, I think, and I haven't read the books since I might have been 12. So I'm going to subject my friends to watch this terrible movie.
Who shot this movie?
Some guy who never shot any other movie in his life. He was some like CGI guy. So he did all these like visual effects, and then he randomly got like the opportunity to direct this one. They're pulling up Letterboxd.
I'm not.
Oh, we're looking at the director.
I've gathered this group together because they have the most opinions on dragons.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm probably the least opinionated about the dragons. I saw Eragon as a child, and then my parents rented the Eragon PS2 game from Blockbuster.
My name is Drake, and I have the most excessive opinions about dragons. Because my name is Drake, I think I have been obsessed with dragons since I was sentient enough to know my name, frankly. Right. And I really like Eragon.
And you're a big fan of Fourth Wing too, which is another reason I wanted you in this.
I don't want to say I'm a fan. I want to say I'm a defender, you know? Right?
I'm Ro, and I like movies. And I don't like Eragon. I've never read it. I've never watched it. I decided when I was a kid that I wasn't getting into this. There were other kids at school that liked it, and it annoyed me, the idea of it, and so I'm watching it for the first time now, and I think it's going to be really good.
Real quick, I want to know, what's your general opinion on dragons?
That's a good point.
The one from Shrek is pretty as foo.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jay, the other Jay, and I am well versed in dragons. I read the Eragon inheritance cycle when I was in high school. I've read A Song of Ice and Fire. I was also introduced to the dragon from Shrek at a young age. And I have played Dungeons and Dragons since high school, so I could say that I'm very experienced with dragons. And in general, I like them. I don't think we both knew that we were separately Eragon fans in high school.
No, because in high school, and I'm going to talk about this, in high school, it's like something you're closeted about because you feel like you're better than Eragon at a certain point.
Well, yeah, because like reading it at the age that he was when he wrote it, really like I don't know, it really puts things in perspective when you read it later.
Yeah.
And you're like you said, like knowing what real writing is like. So I have seen this movie before, do not remember it at all, so this will be fun.
Hello, my name is Tori. I have always been dragon adjacent, should I say?
What are we talking about now?
Yeah, what is this?
What is it?
I'd love to be adjacent to a dragon.
Especially if it's the one from Shrek, am I right?
Wait, were we supposed to say our genders too?
Anywho, however, I've never seen Eragon. I don't know anything about it. And I like dragons now because I will admit I am a Fourth Wing fan. Okay? We all have to have our things. So I won't hide it anymore. I do like Fourth Wing and the dragons.
So this is going to be a battle between Eragon and Fourth Wing to see who is the ultimate dragon franchise, other than Shrek, I guess.
I hate Shrek. No, I hate Shrek.
Guys, we're about to have
I hope it's better than Shrek.
We're about to have a mid-off today. Fourth Wing versus Eragon.
Oh, but you guys are going to really love the scene where Saphira goes into heat and then Eragon.
Wait.
There was a time when the fierce and beautiful land of Allegasia...
You know it's going to be a good movie when it starts with a giant lore dump at the beginning.
I'm sorry, but John Malkovich is the craziest casting for this role.
Yeah, because I was just wondering if he's going to be doing his gay little voice during the movie.
Yes, he does. That's the crazy part.
Hello.
I suffer without my stone.
Hey, he's got his gay little voice.
I suffer with the...
into the movie and I'm already really
This is-
upset about
what?
the lore
Dude,
that
I
they
need my
changed.
fucking rock.
Oh, is this where she like evolves like a Pokemon? Da 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 da.
Well, I mean, this movie is speeding us the fuck through this sequence.
I need to get you to the Vardy.
You need to take off your shirt right now.
But
Oh, they got
Yo.
dragon armor.
That's sick.
This is just like that part in Nightbane where they got cat armor for the giant cat.
this kind of pissed me off
Andrew,
a
how-
lot as a little kid.
Of course you were talking about Lightlark in this fucking video.
You think that's CGI?
I think that's Mount Ararat. That's where Noah landed in the historically attested worldwide flood.
You gave it 4 stars? Fourth Wing sucked.
So, what did we all think?
Oh my god, it sucked. It's so bad.
I have absolutely nothing to say about it.
That was about an hour and 45 minutes.
It was. There were characters in it, and they went through plot beats and emotional turmoil.
I knew it was written by a 16-year-old.
I kind of wish that he would have like actually written the script instead
Yeah.
of whoever.
Because he had
did.
like no input in that whatsoever.
I've never seen it before, and I could tell it was super rushed. And you didn't. Yeah, there was no relationship with him raising the dragon. I didn't care about the dragon enough for my taste.
The worst thing I could say about this movie is that it made me appreciate Fourth Wing.
Galbatorix betrayed them.
Real dragons don't have feathers.
With this movie, as a vacuum, he just throws the dragon into the sky and it comes back like a Pokemon, like a trait evolved Pokemon.
transforms.
Right, and she's just like, okay, I'm Saphira. And even the name Saphira was such an important thing. Like Brahm gave him the name.
the name of like ancient dragons.
His dead dragon, his
Yes,
dragon that
Brahms.
he missed so much, and it was like, and she just like comes down from the sky, and she's like, "Hey, I'm Saphira. I would have killed for like a threshing scene or for like spike tails or whatever, and like a culture to be based off of this thing, because it's like these, it's just a lizard."
I am Saphira, and you are my rider.
Ryder.
I do like the way she.
I hardly even know her.
Saphira's sassy too. Like we got to see a little bit of that, but I mean, not to speak about women,
Yeah, please don't. Let's not talk about women in this video,
Women.
please.
but I mean, you could talk about Eragon the book and its relationship to its women characters, but the movie,
It had women. It had female characters.
they're just there. Saphira is major, and she's just there. I don't know if Saphira passes the Bechdel test.
No, not in this.
She exclusively talks to one man.
Yeah, because
so-
she manifestly does not, because she
She
can't
talks
talk
to Brahm for 2 seconds in one scene. They have like one little moment. That's
I
it.
must have been in the bathroom during that because I remember in the book, like it's established pretty on. Brahm's like, yeah, like an error. That's how Brahm sounds in my head. He goes, yes, I can hear her.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, it's my hot sister Angela.
Sister, what are you talking about?
This character is based off of Christopher Paolini's sister.
Named Angela.
She breaks the fourth wall.
She looks like the crab from Moana.
She looks like the crab.
Wait, is
from
this character in
Moana.
the book?
Yeah, Angela the herbalist. She has a werecat.
It's crazy, Andrew, because the way I feel about this movie is that it made me appreciate the Eragon book more.
Oh yeah, well that
Yes.
too.
And I just
Same,
listened to the audiobook
same.
back in September, and it's not great. But
Oh, the one where Saphira is like,
there's a scene in the the 5th chapter where he writes like in the most like fantasy prose way, kicking someone in the nuts.
I have something that I'm personally really hung up on. You know, he's 15 in the book and he's illiterate. And that's like a big plot point, is that he cannot read. Yep.
Yeah.
You really get an appreciation for how Paolini thought about everything, like leg chafing on the dragon,
Yes.
travel time, him being an illiterate farm boy. Yeah. does that say?
Eragon, written by Christopher Paolini.
Is that the script?
That's a griffin.
One of the things I don't like about the book, and I get why they cut from the movie, is the sequence where they go to 5 or 6 different towns all along their route to the Razak, and it's just for Christopher Paolini to be like, I can write scene and history locations like descriptions like Tolkien did. I can do this kind of backstory like world building stuff, and then they.
But it makes it, at least it made it feel like something was fucking happening instead of like.
I know, and I'm genuinely thinking about how much I like that sequence compared to nothing.
That's what I'm saying. It's better than nothing.
You're gonna go to one town, I'm sorry, they did go to the
one deserted town,
one village in the mist,
In the lake.
in the
Swamp,
lake, that they're in there for
it
like
was
2
nothing
seconds,
like how I thought it would be.
Sorry, but you can't just have an
Hey,
army.
you know he broke his toe in that scene?
Shut up. You can't just have an army of chubby men and pretend that they're like monsters or something.
Yeah, and play like weird noises. They're gonna dive bomb Durza with that later on.
It's like the why didn't they just use the Eagles?
Yeah.
They're like, why did they just drop Brom's grave on Caledor?
Arya's appearance. She has black hair, green eyes, and like a tribal elvish tattoo on her shoulder. And like they made her what? Auburn haired, no elf ears, and the dwarfs.
Elf ears are a tragedy.
But like I don't remember them ever even saying that she was an elf or that those guys were dwarfs.
They mentioned elves
don't
at one
think they
point because
did.
Brom is like, oh, the magic is spoken in the language of the elves.
Oh yeah.
Which is not true, by the way. It's supposed to be the language of the dragons, but whatever.
It was mentioned that she was some kind of princess.
Yeah, they don't mention that she's an elf.
I
but
thought it
Brom
was
does mention elves at one point.
implied more
Yeah.
than anything. They could have been a lot more clear on that. It's just one of the up-teen things that they did not explain in any way, shape, or form.
They changed Saphira to, I wish she was a brighter blue, but I don't hate the feathers. She's very expressive. I like that.
I really
Same
like
for the
Saphira's design.
Razak?
Razak.
They're very different than they had beaks in the book. They were, but they still had the same kind of like creepy vibe that I feel like they should have had.
They were kind of scary to an 8-year-old.
They were
There's a
scary.
Soul Calibur
shit.
character who looks like that.
Okay, anyways.
There's a guy in bandages in the new Black Ops game.
That's great.
Into the sky to win or die.
Why did he rhyme?
That went so hard when I was 8. That was the coolest line ever.
And after we slay them, we get French fries.
Okay, so Ro, as the resident film expert here,
Yeah.
I have to ask you.
Give us your slant on it.
So that wonderful character of Brom, who I'm sure you know by name at this point, what was his job in the village?
Dude, I was not paying attention.
Didn't he have the birds in the beginning that were hung up? Was that him?
He was a bird stealer?
Sure. He had the like the dead geese or whatever. Yeah, the pheasants. He was a pheasant keeper.
Pheasant farmer? Yeah, that tracks. Is that correct?
He was a storyteller.
This is the village
He was the
storyteller?
village storyteller.
Like you got blacksmith
Yeah.
and farmer and storyteller.
He just hung out at the mess hall.
He was a drunk.
He was a little bit of a hermit. Yeah.
He was
but
a true blue collar worker.
Yeah. He was just like, man, the previous administration was so much better.
Back when dragons were dragons.
There was a time when our land flourished without cruelty and fear.
No, there wasn't, Boomer.
So I had dragons and dragon riders.
When everyone knew their place.
How much time do you think passed in the movie? Like, from getting the dragon to getting... I was very confused. I was trying to, like, track days.
That was like 2 days.
I think it might have been.
Maybe like a month? I would say a month.
It was so fast. They'd never go, like, day to night. It would just be, like, one day.
Yeah, no, I
and then it's, like, the next day. It was really
How
confusing.
much time was
couple
it?
of years in the book.
No,
I don't know about years.
It's like maybe
8
course of a
months?
year from when he gets Saphira to.
Oh, wow.
Because Saphira grows for a long
For a few
time
months,
in the
yeah.
forest. She lives in the forest.
I guess I was like maybe the dragons grow fast in this one. That's what I was thinking.
in the movie they
in this.
Yeah, growing from a baby to a full-grown adult dragon in a few months is still quite a feat, quite an accelerated.
Guys,
lifespan.
going from baby to big really quick, it's pretty hard.
As someone who's done it,
Took me 18 years.
I genuinely believe that like the plot of the movie could have taken place within a week and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah,
like it makes no difference
does
on the
not-
pacing.
Does not fucking matter.
I guess it's like it's a book adaptation put into a movie.
Yeah.
So how much grace are we allowed to give to the film to say, to kind of have that tightrope walk of staying true to the books and the timeline of the books and having one feature-length film that they could, ship and package and make a trailer for and poster and send it out to the audiences.
I think my take on that is that it shouldn't matter what they do. Like, I think you should, like, if you can keep it the same as the book, keep it. If you got to change it. But if you're gonna change it, make it good. Like, that's the issue.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
So much for our rat problem.
It's crazy. The director was like, "All right, now we want you to read that line like you're a fucking idiot."
It has to be good. It has to be done.
Has to be good.
What did you rate it out of 5?
Oh, I don't rate. I don't rate things.
I gave it a whopping 1.5 stars.
Wow.
I thought it was not good.
That's harsher than I thought you would be.
Yeah.
It has dragons. You love those from Fourth Wing.
I have a question, and if someone said this, I apologize. Was the author involved in the making of this
Not at all.
I want to know how the author felt, because if this was my book and that was the movie,
Yeah.
I would be super pissed.
Famously, he pretends that it doesn't exist. So-
Yeah, much like Rick Riordan in the Percy
Yeah.
Jackson movies, they didn't really have much to involve with the production.
I would probably give it like a 3 out of 5. It is directly in the middle of the road. It is a movie about a dragon, which, like, just from the title, that's cool.
So exciting.
I didn't really enjoy my time, but it was a movie. It was a movie.
It was certainly a movie. No one would deny that.
So, for everybody that's watched The House That Jack Built, the guy who's playing Eragon, he is the cop from the segment in The House That Jack Built where he gets the widow.
That's so crazy to me.
And then he freaks out.
Do you think this guy's ever seen The House That Jack Built?
I don't know. This is his first role. This is the first thing he
Wait,
did.
really?
Yeah, breakthrough
So they
role.
saw him in Aragon, and they're like, "I need this guy in."
No, Lars von Trier was like, I need to get this guy.
Lars von Trier is like, "This guy's mine."
I remember you from Eragon.
That's got to be so terrifying to hear. Well, the reason I wanted to talk about like this movie in particular, other than like we were just talking about Fourth Wing recently, so it was like top of mind for me, this whole dragons thing, is like this as like a fantasy writer or fantasy enjoyer is such an interesting like cultural touch point. And I feel like this isn't a unique experience, but I haven't really like talked to anyone about this other than seen it through cultural osmosis. For a fantasy fan, particularly a fantasy writer, Eragon is the equivalent of Barney the dinosaur. So
Book or the movie?
Barney the dinosaur was a book?
No, Eragon.
The franchise,
The franchise, the series.
Because you grow up and you get exposed to it and you like it. And then something flips. And remember those like let's get together and kill Barney kind of thing? Like one day everyone just decides that it's really funny to talk about murdering Barney the dinosaur. And one day every fantasy writer thinks it's really fun to start shitting on Eragon. And there was like, I remember because when I was trying to like learn the craft of writing, and especially like genre fiction, I was looking into like Eragon hate, and I was like, and I said this to Jay. I don't know anything about the writer of this blog or this website or whatever the hell it was, but it's this person called Swankivi or Svankiwi. I can't remember.
What if this is like your number one fan and you're like
I
putting
know.
them on blast?
I'm so
it turns
sorry
out.
if you're an SBU fan, which you're definitely not because you're like 30 now, because this was years and years ago. It's this whole website dedicated to picking apart and being really mean to like every aspect of Eragon's writing.
Really?
I don't know this Swankowy or whoever whomever it is. But I feel like that might be a little bit of jealousy from
It's
that.
it's a little bit of jealousy.
Because of the commercial sex of... Yeah, like Eragon did very, very well, and it got a movie deal.
Yeah.
With, it wasn't a great movie, but it was
Right.
it was on the silver screen.
Right.
And I feel like there is an element of that hate that kind of takes it out of like a really objective lens, and it just says it's like, oh, this guy is popular thing bad, I don't like it.
Right. And I was like, I was reading this website as like a young aspiring writer, and maybe subconsciously I was jealous. Like, of course I'm jealous of someone who makes a golly gee $1 trillion at age 15 for publishing a stupid dragon book, right? But like, I was like, oh, this is really helping my writing. This is so cool. And I sent it to Jay because we were talking about Eragon at the time, because of course we were. And Jay texted me. He was like, this is really mean. And I didn't even realize it, because I was just like, oh, this is such great critique. And this is years before SBU and me being in an actual critique group where I was like learning how to interact with other writers. But it's just like, and then the switch flipped back and I was like, okay, well, Eragon exists and that's fine.
Yeah.
To oppose Galbatorix.
Did you know the suffix IX is actually feminine?
How do you know all this?
So it's a girl's name. You ever think about that, Jay?
Can you strike Andrew for me, bro?
Ow.
I know this Jay likes to participate in Eragon hate, but I kind of skipped that phase entirely. Eragon was something I was like really into in middle school and didn't really think about in high school, and not even to hate it. It's kind of something I'm just gently nostalgic for. I've never delved into the bad parts of it or whatever. It's a Star Wars ripoff. It's a Lord of the Rings ripoff.
What isn't?
But it's a fun book.
Yeah.
Okay. And also,
as a kid,
so
I have a whole diatribe. Actually.
Any little kid who like wrote in middle school or high school, especially little girl kids like myself and my little sister, has written a dragon story.
Sure.
I think having a dragon is like the quintessential power fantasy that you can have in that sort of setting. It's this like ancient creature, breathes fire, it has some like magical air around it, and it's like that
And
sort of
you're not
special
like the
part.
other girls.
You're not like the other girls. And I think that's I really want to talk about with Eragon, where I like
talk about dragons.
I like dragon media where dragons are treated like atomic bombs.
Yeah.
Rather than like a lightsaber that you use, oh my God, that's so cool. I think there's a lot lost in it. I mean, it's also could be like audience, because as a kid, as a 14, 15-year-old, reading a book about a dragon and you taming a dragon and
learning the secret magic language,
learning
to use a sword.
That is badass.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Especially the sword training part. I'm like, that's so cool. I wish I could be doing that.
Exactly. And I think that also informs our opinions now. It's like adults versus like being a kid and being like, that's fucking cool, man. Well, that's freaking cool, man.
Your sons will be heroes.
I want to be conscripted so bad. Is that weird?
Yes. I had so many dragon stories, and I thought I was special because a lot of my dragon stories was not like I'm a kid who got a dragon egg. It's like it was from the dragon's perspective.
Oh,
so
I guess you'd say you had a lot of dragon tales.
I actually hate dragon tales. We're not going to talk about dragon tales. Do you have any dragon stories?
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I was an aspiring, like, fantasy writer.
So, yeah,
I
was on some dragons.
I
right?
was trying to ape off of these things. Like, I was trying to be derivative because that was the sins affair for the kind of media I was trying to create. So it was like this weird, like, love, hate, maybe somewhat Freudian, like, jealousy or whatever. I don't know. Like, it's just... It's really weird, the place in my heart that Eragon occupies.
My experience with writing dragons is like homebrewing Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, because I've had 2 so far where I've introduced a dragon. Like, I don't know, I just find them very fascinating, especially in terms of like the way they're portrayed in Dungeons and Dragons, which is very similar to how they're portrayed in Eragon, minus the whole bonding thing.
Right.
But like the idea of like dragons being inherently magical creatures who are sentient,
I like that, like Dungeons and Dragons often will shapeshift into like people and go around like and live among people for whatever reason. They're sexy and they're cool, but like even then, more so than dragons, I like the things that aren't quite dragons. Like I had one campaign that was centered around like a dragon, like a half dragon born guy and his like army of kobold followers who so desperately wanted to like become dragons that they were willing to do like demon rituals to try and get wings. Like, I don't know, I think of dragons are cool, like the pinnacle of like magical creatures. You know, if you think about it, this is really like one of the first parasocial relationships. He like wakes her up and he's like, all right, we're good to date now, right? I've been dreaming about you for 6 months.
I was predestined to this by Joseph Campbell.
I guess the point I was trying to make is that like dragons are
cool,
but not only like a universal fantasy thing. I think they're kind of like a universal like child interest.
Yeah,
they were standing for the predator.
Yeah.
What about the category of lion precludes the category of dragon? There's a really good, Andrew. You'll have to link to it in the description. But there's a really good.
I'm not linking to Jordan Peterson in the description.
It's a really good conversation.
Someone start talking over him.
Anyways, I think I give Eragon so much grace because that's what I see in Eragon is just like the childhood fascination with creation, fantasy, and dragons. You know, that desire to be not like the other girls. And a dragon bonds just with you, and you're on your magic quest or whatever the fuck, and you're Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Well, like Tolkien did. It's interesting that The Hobbit has a dragon in it, the kids' book, but like the adult the Lord of the Rings trilogy does not have any dragons in it.
That's a good point. Maybe dragons are just like some.
They have like drakes.
Like only kids can really appreciate dragons.
They have something. They have like fucking worms or some shit.
Do they?
Yeah, the shit that's flying around in Mordor.
Yeah, that's what the
Witch
Wraith,
King has.
Yeah, you're right.
See, okay, my thing about dragons is when I was a kid, I think the first dragons I was introduced to were, I had this book of Norse myths, and there's the one about like the dwarf who puts on the ring that turns him into a dragon, and I remember reading that one, and I remember reading I think it's Sigmund and the Green Dragon. The guy who fights the big Sigurd. Yes.
Sigmar.
So Jay, funnily enough, I just played in a D&D campaign where I was playing a dwarf, and I left the campaign for a while, and I hopped in for the final session, and Fafnir is the name of that dragon. It was a Norse campaign, and my character kind of went through the same arc as that dwarf from the story, where it's like overcome with greed or whatever. Speaking of dwarf stereotypes, there was a significant lack of them in the movie.
Yeah. Almost to a detrimental point. Actually, definitely to a detrimental.
Well, it's like they wanted to. It's like they wanted to be like, hey, these guys are dwarfs, but then they were like, well, actually, they're just 5'6".
Yeah. Well,
manlets.
That's the problem with all the stupid creatures in this. The dragon, the Urgles, the dwarves. They're just guys.
You really, Andrew. You know what I really appreciate you is that when a thing promises you creatures and you don't get creatures, you're so mad about it.
So mad.
I get it. You want your creatures. You want your creatures.
Who in here isn't mad about it?
I know. I'm just thinking about Andrew's reaction to Lightlark and the promise of creatures but no creatures.
And not really about the movie, but just about the Eragon franchise in general. This is like, and I know someone is going to have some fantasy story where this is addressed as well. So I know this is not unique to Paolini, but what I really appreciated about that guy with the whole Urgles thing is you can read The Lord of the Rings as a eugenicist narrative against orc people. They're like, hey, these aren't real humans. They were created in some twisted, fucked up mountains.
They're inherently evil.
They're inherently evil, and you ontologically need to kill them.
Yeah.
Like Eragon, not
That did
Eragon.
happen in real life, though.
Sure. Well, whether or not that's true.
No, Yakub.
Oh yeah, when Yakub created. Yes, you're right. When right.
It comes back to Yakub.
It does.
So there's this whole part in the inheritance cycle where there's this Roran like integrates himself with like orc society, and Lawrence of Arabia is himself
or
in
Urgle, Andrew. They're not orcs, they're Urgles.
Urgles, whatever.
Dude, I just saw Lawrence of Arabia the other week. That's
So that is actually just like Inheritance by Christopher Paolini.
That's
yeah, because like
I should read that.
Because the characterization of the Urgles is that they're like a society that worships strength, right? Or like winning battles. Or
Yeah,
something
they're
like
just
that.
a gruff bunch of guys. But they're guys. They're not twisted creatures that you have to kill.
Yeah.
And the fact that like the narrative held space for that is something, you know?
It does.
That is true.
It does reflect like a growing writer.
Mm-hmm. And people who are like, oh, you know, this is just the most derivative thing in the world. It sucks. He's 15. He should get burned alive.
At least he's not like letting his subconscious racism like bleed into his narrative that he's
It's better than Lightlark.
Dude, that was like Star Wars.
Oh my God, it's just like Star Wars.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think, actually.
Dude, I think the director was the guy that's only seen Star Wars.
About Eragon being derivative is like, yes. Oh, the first book, extremely derivative. Like, just like straight up just... And the movie kind of acknowledged it by straight up doing the binary sun bit. But it really is like, it's Star Wars, it's Lord of the Rings, it's Wheel of Time, it's everything and all that. It's also some action movies too. And like, that puts... Like, now I'm at a point where like that kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth. But then I think of like Ready Player One, which did so well and is exactly the same. It's just derivative. But at least in Eragon, I feel like this doesn't work as well as he wants it to. Paolini recognizes that so much of what he's writing is derivative, that he makes choices to spite like that, to be like, oh, Brahms is actually his father, and I'm sure he had that written whenever he first wrote Braun.
Sure.
And I feel like later books, it starts to become more original and works really well in some ways.
He's getting older
Right.
as that's happening too. Like, he's not a kid anymore, right? And like especially the third and fourth book.
So I do appreciate that, but there are decisions I feel like in the first book are just like to be different from the thing that he is inspired by.
Right. Because like and I know this is like every genre does this, but like especially fantasy, I feel like exists more in like conversation with its own genre than it does in and of itself. You're never going. Well, and again, even Fourth Wing, like, and again, like romance, you'll see this, horror, you'll see this. I know this isn't unique to fantasy, but like when you write a fantasy story, you are inheriting expectations and tropes. And your choice to either adhere to or subvert them is kind of just what makes a new entry into the genre.
What was the magic spark that made Eragon so successful? Was it some unique take on the fantasy genre, or was it just published at the right time?
The really cool dragon on the cover.
I was gonna say a really good cover. A really good cover. Book covers are not good anymore.
No.
And I'll stand on this. Book covers are not good anymore, but that was on it.
I think the Eragon the book, definitely because it was like PG-13. You know what I mean? Because it grabbed such a broad range and was genuinely readable for many different ages. And like I think I was the prime age. Like y'all are talking about like too young to realize how incredibly derivative it is. So when you go back later, you're like, oh. But at that age, it's like the coolest shit.
You were middle school, right?
Do you think Christopher Paolini was thinking about his target audience while he was writing, or was he writing a cool story for himself as a 15-year-old?
Yeah, he was writing a cool story for himself, and it got published as his first draft.
I heard about it when I was 8 years old, and I was like, I'm too old for this.
It's really interesting. I've been reading Dragons of Pern, which is arguably what started like the dragon bonding trope as a whole, and a lot of these kind of stories in general, like that's where that trend started, however you want to say.
It's really Black Beauty,
yeah.
Well, then it's really...
I can go on a tangent
then
about
it's really...
how horse girls and dragon girls are basically the same, but I will not.
It's really King Kong then, if you think about it. It's all about taming a wild beast.
Yeah.
But I think the concept of horse taming is older than the concept of dragon taming.
Or gorilla taming.
Or
gorilla taming.
I haven't read all of Paolini's book, but I've read his sci-fi book.
Oh yeah.
I didn't read the 5th Eragon book that came out a couple of years ago, I think. Yeah, but I read the short stories. But my senior quote was a Paolini quote.
No, really? What was
yeah.
it?
We're
Into
gonna
the sky to win or die.
We're gonna move on.
For the win.
For the win.
I get it. Greg really does like dragons. I need to put more dragons in the D&D campaign.
When the Varden learn that the legend is real, they will be encouraged.
The hero's on the journey.
he's
about to cross the
He's
threshold.
crossed the threshold. My lord, the hero Eragon is going through the dark night of his soul.
He's about to get help from without.
He's returned home. I mean, this really is like Christopher Paolini watched Star Wars and was like, if like his first time he thought that Obi-Wan was supposed to be like Luke's father, and that's like the twist, or if he was like, what if I made it different and actually the mentor is the father? Oh, honestly, it kind of is lame that he switches out the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader's your father thing.
Why?
Because like in Star Wars, it's like that's like a conflicting thing for Luke. It's like, oh, my father's this bad guy, and that has this influence on me. Could I end up bad like him? But with Eragon, he spends 2.5 books going like, oh, my father is this like is Darth Vader, the fantasy Darth Vader. Does that make me a bad guy? What are the repercussions of that? And then in the 3rd book, he finds out, oh, my dad was actually the guy I already liked all along. The guy I already liked and saw as a mentor and influenced my life. He's already my dad.
So I don't have to feel anything bad whatsoever.
I don't have to reconcile anything.
Right.
Maybe Bronson was a chosen last name at the end.
Yeah, it was. I think he adopted it.
What's your name?
Was actually
Eragon. Eragon Skywalker.
My name is Charles Bronson.
My vision's failing. It's not you, but me.
Eragon, what's wrong? You've turned off your targeting computer.
Holy shit.
Now that you've been exposed to both Eragon and Fourth Wing, what reigns supreme in your heart?
Definitely Fourth Wing. It's not Eragon. Sorry. Not to be a hater. I guess it goes back to what I said about how I felt like there was no relationship between
Tori's
Eragon
like-
and the dragon.
Tori's like,
I
they
wish
never went into
Eragon and the dragon fought.
That would have made it more interesting.
Saphira never went into heat. There was never lightning.
That would have been just like my dragon story.
No, that literally would have made it more interesting than that because that was boring. I felt bored.
I was bored. I went to sleep on Jay's tummy.
Well, okay, actually, Tori, you'd probably appreciate the book then, because there's a lot more in the book of them bonding, and you get these scenes where like they're spending their time in cities, or they're spending their time in town, so Eragon can't ride Saphira as much. I'm sorry, this is Eragon can't ride with Saphira as much, and she'll complain and be like, we should be spending more time together, we should be out there in the sky as dragons and riders are meant to be, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it should have been like 5 hours long. That would have really fixed this.
Yes. Watching Eragon had like made me think about Eragon the book, but also kind of the recent trend of romantasy in general.
Yeah,
No
romance in that one.
Yeah, I miss the days where you could have a fantasy and then they just don't fuck. Like no one fucks, and that's okay.
Yeah, now that's unheard of.
So would you say that Eragon has virgin energy?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Like Eragon, like in general, or like Eragon the guy?
In general.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's always it had virgin energy before I knew what sex was. I was like, the people
That's what you said in 3rd grade.
I was like, the people that like this are lesser than me.
What were you like consuming in 3rd grade?
What was I consuming in 3rd
Kurosawa.
grade? Dostoevsky.
I was really getting into.
I was getting really into notes from Underground.
In a couple of years, I'd start getting into French New Wave.
Yeah, no. I was reading like Harry Potter, which I thought Harry Potter was fun.
Yeah, no, I was reading.
I was honestly, I'm the wokest person I know. I didn't like Harry Potter before it was cool.
Okay.
This is not a joke, but I did read Great Expectations in the 3rd grade. I was into it. That's all I had to say.
So
I read it in 4th.
I was born with a copy in my hand.
Oh my god. My mother read it to me in the womb.
I could read Curious George when I was 6 months old.
It's coded in the DNA sequence I got from my dad.
I saw 9/11 happen, and then I read Curious George.
One of my past lives was there when he wrote it.
But this is an interesting point because, like, how do you think, for the people who have read Eragon, how do you think it stacks up to like other books you read at like 11 or 12, like Harry Potter, like the other? I mean, I think it's great. I mean, you're reading Harry Potter, Percy Jackson.
I read it when I was like 12, 13, probably. The first one, at least.
I was late to the game. I started reading it in preparation for Inheritance to come out.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'd maybe read Eragon in middle school, and then I read the next two in preparation for Inheritance to come out.
Yeah, because we were
because
like
it came out in 2011.
school,
so
right?
yeah. So it was like around the time because Inheritance came out, and I was waiting for our library to get its copy.
Nice.
So it was around our freshman year that I read it. So I was like 14.
I think it's a funny discussion though, because like media, especially when you're a kid, is not a competitive landscape. It goes back to the derivative thing. You know, I really loved Star Wars, and I really loved Harry Potter, and I really loved all the like monomyth, Joseph Campbell, whatever the fuck. And you know what I said when I read this stupid derivative awful book Eragon? I was like, hey, this is more of the thing I like, you know? I was like, I was all for it. I knew that it was similar to Star Wars or whatever, but like, I liked Star Wars, so Star Wars with dragons was like exactly the elevator pitch that I needed as a child.
It's also like, as somebody that wanted, you know, that liked writing and stuff like that, it's like, oh, this kid was only 15 and he wrote an entire fucking book. Like if he could do that, I could do that.
Dude was like my Shakespeare. There was something about his prose that appeals very directly to like an overeducated middle schooler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did feel smart reading it.
It's like what I was saying about like how Arya was smote in the prologue. Like specifically, she was smited, and I was just like, wait a second. And I was like looking up the word, and I felt so smart doing it. You know, it was like a whole thing.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that one sequence I keep talking about is like literally like Roran struck in the crux of his groin or something
Right.
You need to read his To Sleep in a Sea of Stars or whatever, his sci-fi book that he wrote as an adult.
Didn't you not like it?
No, I did.
Oh, okay, someone didn't like it that I trusted.
Well, I just like Eragon so much. I
fair.
like easy, fun reads. You know what I mean? It's better than Dune.
Better than Dune?
Wow.
That's fucking crazy.
That is insane.
That's actually fucking crazy.
That is insane.
Fear. Some friends can't be replaced.
He's such a dick for this. He's such a dick for that. Like, why did he do that?
I love Dune.
I thought Dune was so slow.
How far did you finish it?
And Eragon isn't?
Yeah, that's crazy. Did you finish? Like, okay, I
read the whole first book. I've not read past that.
You gotta read Dune Messiah. It's so good. Way shorter, but it's so good. That's great, but you're crazy. You're crazy.
That's why it's good. That's why it's good, is because it's slow.
Here's the thing. It's not like the older prose, because I've read like shit in very old prose. I'm reading that shitty. It's not shitty. I'm reading a book from like 1920 right now, or like really old sci-fi.
The shittiest year of all.
Robert W. Chambers, The King in Yellow.
King in Yellow's good.
I'm thinking of an old book.
King of Yellow is
It's just so slow. I don't think I'm a Dune person.
Oh, I'm such a Dune head. I fucking love Dune. Dune, I like. Yeah, let's make this about Dune. So,
in both of those movies, they had like a moment where they changed their eye colors to like piercing blue.
Yeah. Oh, what about Dune 2?
the movies
Dune
are
2
fine.
dudes at the same time.
Speaking of Dune, do you think, for the people who have read our Eragon, do you think there could be a successful Eragon movie made? Maybe they need to split it up a bunch.
Series.
Like
I think you'd have to do a series on like Amazon or something like that.
J.J. Abrams, get him on the Disney Plus series.
I think you'd have to, because like
the stuff in his village at the beginning is good. And I think you should keep that, him bonding with Saphir in the beginning.
People
but then
like dragon bonding.
you should definitely also do the journey with him with Braum, because I feel like him and Braum didn't really have much going on.
No, they didn't.
And Braum,
Definitely not a mentor mentee.
Yeah.
Evolve into father
well,
son.
in the
vibe.
book, there's a clear like give and take of Braum being like, yeah, this is my son, and I know that, but he doesn't know that, and I don't want to give it away, but like, I mean, I want to spend time with him, but like, also we're gonna go hunt down the bird people and kill them or whatever.
Was Braum like, do you want to play catch with me, Eragon?
No, it's just no. He's like, do you want to beat each other with wooden sticks? And Eragon's like, yeah. And you're a kid reading that, and you're like, I want to beat my friends with wooden sticks. And
if you're an adult, you're like, I want to beat my son with a wooden stick.
and then they cast a spell on the sword, so make it so that it doesn't hurt you anymore. And then they hit each other with the sword, and it doesn't hurt. And it's like, I want to do that shit. I want to have swords that I can beat Andrew with, that it doesn't actually kill him.
I think we all do.
Wait. So you just want a LARP?
I think it's the
I guess
rush.
So. No, but do you remember they cast the spell on the swords, and then like there's
You dulled the edges. It still hurts.
It's the rush that you get from maybe I might kill Andrew.
Yes.
What if
I hit him just hard enough?
Yeah.
I remember during like the 3 or 4 months he's traveling with Braum in the book, there's a bit where he's like, and all that time spent sword fighting and walking through the forest and carrying stuff for Braum, he worked off all his baby fat and now he's hot.
I do remember that.
Oh yeah, and there were descriptions of like the calluses that he was building.
And I was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, I read Eragon and I was like, wow, I could be hot.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the lesson.
I'm kidding.
Maybe
I wanted to be a dragon.
Maybe you could be hot too.
Yeah, that's the lesson that we can take from Eragon is you too, viewer, can be hot.
If you subscribe and become a member of the SPU English Club. ABC, Andrew, ABC.
So yeah, bad movie.
How are you gonna
Not
wrap
great.
it up? What's the point?
Oh, that was it.
That's it.
That's
Okay.
a bad movie.
Yeah, this movie fucking sucks.
Hooray! Can't wait for the Fourth Wing movie.